and I had to figure that out the hard way last year, but I've got snow tires, and it makes a big difference. Normal week schedule. Got our work in today. I think, look, weather forecast Sunday, 59 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds. I do think the field will be something we have to pay attention to. They had rain last night. They also have a college game Saturday on this grass surface. And the weather for Saturday is heavy rain forecast. So we'll have to make sure we're prepared for that. Any questions? That happens a lot there because they share that stadium. Now it's a Bermuda field, but yes, I can't recall. I can recall 2 games there where Lightning had us in the locker room for a half an hour. You know how it is in Florida. This is a little uniquely different in that, not that they played Monday night and it rained, but that I know there's a college game there Saturday, and it'll be a different type grass.
Like you said earlier this week, that Jonathan Cooper's the type of guy that in the locker room they like to see rewarded. He does it the right way. He's
Yeah, I'm excited for him. He's tough. He's competitive. I think he's a real good teammate. We have a lot of these guys that are, and you know exactly the physicality you're getting with the player, and well, you guys know him, so he certainly deserved it. Well, in fairness to Barron, even we had a long talk, and just a contract year, the amount of snaps he can get, more snaps. It's the puzzle of trying to look outwards too, and certainly he's been a part of what we've been doing, and so it's never easy to trade someone, and yet I thought just in our visit, George and I and Barron sitting down, he totally understood, and he was looking forward to getting more snaps, certainly in a year for him that's important. Yeah, well, that's the heart of a champion, and they've been in a lot of closer games this year. They've had some injuries, like all of us. They're playing really, really good on defense. So what's interesting sometimes is, historically speaking, many of you have covered this league for a long time, and if I asked you about the Montana or Steve Young 49ers, we all think of the offense always. Those guys had fantastic defenses. And I would say this team we're playing has got a real good defense. And so, we've got a ton of tape, obviously a divisional opponent on the road. We're going to have a good week, and we're going to have to play well.
What does Spags do that's different in terms of it's like creates almost fake panic?
Yeah, listen, he's a fantastic coach. The late Jim Johnson, who some of you might remember, was one of our best defensive coordinators that, this league has seen. Was in Philly, and Steve cut his teeth under Jim, and so, man, they're going to apply pressure, and it's not just going to be on third down. It can be, the weak linebacker in the corner. So a lot of fire zone coverage, a lot of man, and he saw it firsthand, and Jim was someone that just really believed in stressing you in a lot of different ways, and so now that all being said, Steve's put his spin on it, and man, they play real good technique. They're smart. They're near the top of the league in giving up explosives, and so sometimes when you are trying to apply pressure, you might get hit for the big play, but these guys are extremely well coached, and they're a challenge. Well, you try to help calm it down. There's certain things formationally, there's certain things play design-wise. That's the process of this week.
Joe, what were some of the lessons that came out of your short yardage running game, whether it was the early third, fourth down or the late?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. You know, we had a spontaneous quarterback sneak, and we should have executed that better. You know, and then we get into this or that play sometimes if they're in gaps. But we'll just, you know, that's something obviously that we expect to convert on. And it was one of those, you know, when we talked offensively, there were like 2 or 3 of these moments a week ago that that really kept us from making that a closer game.
How's BJ Locke doing? Would you expect him to?
We'll see. Yeah, he practiced today, so he's feeling good. Yeah, he's doing well.
You've had a bunch of guys make the year 1 to year 2 jump. How excited or anxious are you to see sort of what Drew can do if you can get him back on the field?
Yeah, and listen, I am. You know, all of these guys, re-entry for a veteran player. It just depends on the injury and the player and the position, but absolutely. You know, having these guys get healthy because it's week to week. You know, this upcoming Monday after the game, there'll be a curveball. There always is, and so being healthier and having more depth can help you. But it's good to have those guys back out there.
How much of a
Go ahead.
challenge is it? It seems like you got a number of guys who are going to come back, but you'll need roster spots.
It's always a challenge. Yeah, it's a little bit of a puzzle. Yep.
You talk all the time about protecting the football, but when it becomes more important, it's a great team like Kansas City.
Yeah.
How do you stress that message so guys still can play free, though? Because sometimes guys.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's a good question. I think ultimately what you try to do during the week is work on the fundamentals of ball security, and then you're not thinking about it. You know, in other words, great question. You know, we have to throw the ball down the field. We have to obviously run it inside, outside, and you really try to work on the fundamentals and where it becomes kind of second nature.
For a young and hungry team, what is key to go on the road and winning a game?
Well, I think it's the details. I think oftentimes it's one during the week, and so it's putting together 3 real good practices, understanding how the game's unfolding, because it can unfold. I say this all the time. What's the key to winning this game, and so, but I think it starts with the preparation and the details during the week.
Coach, Tampa having a chance to go for 2 at the end of that game, given the opponent.
Yeah, I saw that. There was a lot of discussion about it. And so there's so many variables that go into it that analytically don't punch in. I know the footing was an issue, all right. I don't recall how many plays they had run during that game inside the 5-yard line. But, there's times where, like for instance, the play last week where we threw it to Sutton, he threw it to, we had that as a 2-point play. All right, but I'd rather score 6 with it, right? Like, I don't save my best for 2. Let's say there's 5 passes you like inside the 5. Then on the 2-point list, there's your top 2 or 3, and then maybe a couple runs, whatever. But if you really like it, and so sometimes there have been games where, man, you get through some of your tight red plays and so I can't speculate on that moment where the wind was, how they were playing. I think that I know this. I know Todd's a real good football coach, and sometimes trusting your gut there is what you have to do. So, yeah, I think all things equal, when you're playing someone and you're on the road against a former Super Bowl champ, you tend to be maybe more aggressive, but there are other things that factor into it. I remember when I'm going to say probably 9 years ago, at the Combine, someone asked me, we were playing the Rams. It wasn't that we didn't go for two. We kicked a field goal instead of going for it on fourth down. And there were some analytical numbers. And I asked the individual, I said, were you paying attention to the left tackle's matchup? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, were you watching Quinn rush our left tackle? We had a young left tackle, and Breeze had been hit 3 times. And so there are, in baseball, we know we have a pitcher and a batter, and we can quickly do there are a lot more variables that go into how's protection holding up, those type of things. So, but it's a fair question, good question. We think of it, we talk about it, how we approach fourth down some weeks, last week certainly more aggressively than maybe the week before. A lot of it's opponent driven. Yeah, listen, there's a little bit of UFC to our league. You got to be able to, each week, I don't care who you're playing, if you're not careful, you can catch one in the chin, but you got to get back up, and you got to get back to work, and that gets back to that mental toughness, the grit, all the things that we're looking for, not only in our players but our coaches and everyone. So, you get excited to play the next game to hopefully get the taste out of your mouth.
There were a couple plays against Baltimore, the one that Javante in particular, where those scrambling, but it keeps his eyes.
Saw it, yeah.
For a rookie, I guess, is that something you coach in terms of how to keep your eyes down?
Well, we coach a scramble drill. We have rules: widest, flush, clear, second. There's certainly you want guys moving with the direction of the quarterback, and then Javante kind of came out of it, and so there's a point at which we're not going to throw all the way back, but that was a heads-up play. And generally, guys with good football IQ do well in scramble drills. And generally, guys maybe that aren't so tuned in maybe struggle with it. And so, but it is something that especially when you have a quarterback like Bo.
Sean, is this a team that you like the resilience with this group?
Yeah, so far, yeah. I mean, I thought, look, you get these, it's a long season, and so you get these tests periodically, and that's why the procurement of your players and your staff, the ingredients, it starts with that, and it's not when they're successful that's easy. It's when all of a sudden you come off a tough loss, and then hey, you're going back on the road again to play the Chiefs. So, but yeah, I like how they've responded. I think it's certainly an entirely different team from a year ago.
Coach, I think since you watched the film and asked you just how Bo did in the game,
I thought he did well. I think there were some plays, certainly, he would have wished he had back. We just missed Troy on a cover 0 check. And there's still so many learning moments for him. In other words, each week is another classroom, another test. And I like the way he's progressing. And I like the poise after each series and after the game. You feel his maturity.
Did you think strongly of acquiring anyone at the trade deadline, or is it a case of, like you've been saying, you like this group?
Well, I like this group, and then it's just a matter of, when I say we weren't considering giving up a second or, in other words, I think a lot of it is who. And so the NFL train, I talk about it all the time. We don't know who's driving it yet, right? But we listen to it. That's fine. But